Something strange is happening right now, and almost nobody is talking about it. There's no announcement, no official declaration, no single moment you can point to and say this is when it started. But people feel it. People who don't agree on politics, who don't agree on religion, who don't even agree on how the world should work. They're all sensing the same thing. They struggle to put it into words, but they know something has shifted. Conversations feel different. Language feels heavier. Concepts that once felt outdated, good, evil, conscience, sacrifice, are quietly re-entering everyday speech.
Could change my life. I believe that music had the power to change my life, and God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
You hear it in award acceptance speeches that don't sound scripted. You see it in podcasts where the tone suddenly turns serious. You feel it in the way people stop joking and start searching. At the same time, the things we were told to trust, institutions, elites, systems, narratives, are visibly straining. Not collapsing all at once, but cracking under their own weight. Authority feels thinner. Certainty feels forced. So the question isn't whether something is changing. The question is, why now? Because once you recognize what's happening beneath the surface, it becomes impossible to unsee. Act 1. The unexpected return. For decades, faith was supposed to fade. At least that was the promise of modern culture. As societies became wealthier, more educated, more technologically advanced, belief would slowly dissolve. Religion would be replaced with reason. Spiritual language would give way to irony. Meaning would be outsourced to productivity, pleasure, or personal branding. Belief, real belief, was framed as something people quietly grew out of. But that didn't happen. Instead, something unexpected began appearing in places no one predicted. Not in churches first, not through institutions, but in the middle of secular success. Artists standing on award stages speaking openly about God. Public figures known for excess talking about discipline, repentance, and purpose. Podcasters who built their platforms on skepticism suddenly asking ancient questions with sincerity. What makes this moment striking isn't polish or perfection, it's direction. These aren't carefully packaged testimonies. They're messy, hesitant, sometimes uncomfortable admissions. People saying, I'm trying to walk toward something better without pretending they've arrived. That alone marks a cultural shift. For years, the dominant myth of success was transactional. You give something up to get something back. Fame costs something. Power demands compromise. The soul is negotiable. That idea was openly celebrated. Excess was framed as freedom. Self-destruction was aestheticized. Selling out wasn't shameful. It was proof you'd made it. The message was clear. Transcendence is fake, but indulgence is honest. Now that story is cracking. Not because people suddenly became moral, but because the cost of that myth became impossible to ignore. The emptiness lasted longer than expected. The rewards didn't satisfy. The trade stopped making sense. So instead of mocking belief, people began circling back to it. Carefully, imperfectly, without certainty. Not as nostalgia, as survival. Act 2, what most people want. Here's something rarely said out loud. Most people don't want power. They want peace. They want to wake up without dread. To live without constant performance. To be kind and to be surrounded by kindness that isn't transactional. They want meaning without manipulation. Freedom without emptiness. Stability without surrendering their conscience. But history shows something uncomfortable alongside that truth. There's always a smaller group willing to trade anything for control. Values. Truth. People. Not everyone wants power, but some want it badly enough to protect systems that reward silence and punish dissent. And those systems don't announce themselves as evil. They frame themselves as necessary, inevitable, sophisticated. That's why silence becomes valuable. Say the wrong thing and you lose access. Ask the wrong question and you lose credibility. Refuse to play along and you disappear. For a long time, that pressure worked. But something changed when long-buried information started resurfacing. Court documents, investigations, patterns that could no longer be dismissed as coincidence. They didn't just reveal individual wrongdoing, they exposed environments where silence was currency and moral hesitation was a liability. Suddenly, the cost of staying quiet felt heavier than the cost of speaking. Against that backdrop, the return to faith doesn't feel random. It feels defiant. Not defiant in a loud, revolutionary way, but in a personal one. A refusal to outsource morality. A decision to anchor identity somewhere that can't be revoked by public opinion or institutional approval. Because when belief disappears, something else always rushes in to replace it. ideology, status, fear. And people are starting to realize that not all replacements are harmless. Act 3. Independence versus orthodoxy. Culture doesn't move on its own. It flows downstream from incentives, from who gets rewarded, from who gets protected, and who gets sacrificed, which helps explain why resistance is growing. Because what's happening isn't just spiritual, it's about independence. Independence of thought, refusing to repeat ideas you don't believe just to stay safe. Independence of livelihood, stepping away from systems that demand obedience in exchange for survival. Independence of spirit, choosing faith over fear, even when fear is easier. That kind of independence threatens any orthodoxy built on control, and the response has been predictable. Questions are framed as attacks. Doubt is treated like betrayal. Curiosity is labeled dangerous, not because people are becoming more extreme, but because neutrality is becoming harder to maintain. We're watching a shift across multiple arenas at once. In entertainment, audiences are rejecting hollow spectacle in favor of authenticity, even when it's uncomfortable. In music, vulnerability is outperforming shock value. In politics, trust is collapsing faster than new narratives can be constructed to replace it. The tension everyone feels comes from the same underlying question rising to the surface. What do you serve? Comfort or conscience? Fear or faith? Approval or truth?
There's a lot of like atheists and secular people that just like to dismiss Christianity as being foolish. You know, it's just fairy tales. I hear that amongst, self-professed intelligent people. Like it's a fairy tale. I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I think there's more to it. I think it's history.
Something strange is happening right now, and almost nobody is talking about it. There's no announcement, no viral moment, no official declaration you can point to and say, this is it. Yet people feel it, a subtle shift in the way the world talks, thinks, and even believes. Disagreements on politics, religion, or culture don't matter. The feeling cuts across all divides. Conversations carry weight again. Words like conscience, sacrifice, and purpose are quietly returning to everyday life. Institutions, elites, and systems that once seemed unshakable are starting to show cracks under their own weight. Faith, once thought to be fading with modernity, is reappearing in unexpected places, artists, public figures, and skeptics alike. People are circling back to belief not as nostalgia, but as a way to survive the emptiness of success and transactional living. Most desire peace, kindness, and meaning more than power, yet there are always those willing to defend control at any cost. Silence and compliance were once safe. Now, speaking truth feels lighter than hiding it. Independence of thought, livelihood, and spirit is quietly rising, threatening orthodoxies built on fear and obedience. And the final question isn't what's happening, it's what you will do now that you can feel it too. As the next chapter of history approaches, it doesn't feel like a slow drift anymore. It feels like a convergence. A wrestling match that's been unfolding quietly for decades now, becoming visible all at once. Not everyone will choose the same answers, but for the first time in a long time, people are choosing deliberately. And that may be the most disruptive force of all, because when fear stops working, systems built on silence begin to fail. They depend on people believing they're isolated. That doubt is individual. That questioning makes you alone. But the moment people realize others feel it too, the illusion breaks. Maybe that's why reactions have become so intense, why conversations are shut down instead of explored, why asking questions now feels more dangerous than giving wrong answers. Real independence can't be managed, so the only question left isn't what's happening. It's what you'll do now that you can feel it too.